Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Happy Friday.
Happy Forge Friday Coffee Talk.
Bink.
Bink.
Ha. What are we talking about?
We're talking about hydration today.
Appropriate.
Water. It's hot. It's summertime now, officially. Like, we're in June. It's officially summertime. We're past Memorial Day. We have been warm-ish down here for a good couple of weeks now, but the rest of the country is starting to catch up. So it's hot, right? It's hot, it's sweaty, it's humid, and we thought we would talk about how the importance of staying hydrated, why we need to stay hydrated, why it's a little more, it's harder to do during the summer, and some myths about hydration and some ways to, like, tips and tricks to kind of help keep you more hydrated through the summer. On your days when you're not so active and on the days when you are really active and doing your thing and CrossFit and jiu-jitsu and sweating your buns off and all the things. Yeah. Down here, you can walk to your car and sweat your buns off. So we kind of have to be careful about it all the time.
That's what I was going to say. It's very deceptive here in Florida because it is so humid all the time. You don't even have to be very active, and you can be losing fluid all the time because the air outside is just sucking it all right out of your pores. Mm-hmm. Some people sweatier than others.
Accurate.
But it's something that, like, if you're losing all that fluid through your pores, and again, not even necessarily through heavy activity and exercise, you got to replace that stuff. Otherwise, cellular function drops down a little bit. You just start feeling a little bit less than optimal as far as all of that goes, and it's very important to stay up on top of all those things, especially if you are going to be more active and you want to stay active in doing exercises in your sports and everything else that we're doing through the summer months, as we should be doing.
And performing, like, if you are a performer, if you compete in jiu-jitsu, if you want to hit certain goals in CrossFit, things like that, you better be paying attention to how much you're hydrated, because it makes a huge difference. I think people underestimate how much it can affect your performance. Mm-hmm. And even just, like, your mental clarity, right? Like, just being able to, like, mentally pay attention and be intentional with movements and things like that, keeps you safer and that kind of stuff. So, like, people underestimate how much it really affects all of those things. Mm-hmm. So
I found, like, that midday crash that sometimes a lot of people experience. They'll have their coffee in the morning and then have lunch, and then after lunchtime they're like, oh, I'm dragging a little bit, I need to go get another coffee. And what is usually the case is that people are usually a little dehydrated at that point. You drink water and all of a sudden you get that energy back without even touching that extra coffee in the afternoon, which is going to mess up your sleep patterns, which is a whole other story.
Right. Yeah. So oftentimes that crash in the middle of the afternoon isn't so much because you need more caffeine, it's because you just need to chug some water. Mm-hmm. So actually, we can get to that later, but that'll be one of the tips later on. Okay, so why hydration matters, especially here in Florida, but we kind of already touched on some of this, but hot and humid, when it's hot and humid out, you are just going to lose fluid faster. And you're not just losing fluid, you're also losing electrolytes, sodium, potassium, things like that. And those all, again, we talked about affecting your performance, affecting your mental clarity. It actually can affect the ability for your muscle fibers, the chemical reaction that happens in order to make your muscles contract. It affects all of that stuff. So that's a big one. Because of that, it can increase your risk for cramps, fatigue, injury, all of those things. And then, like we talked, performance dipping and things like that. So what are some myths? What are some hydration myths?
So I think one of the first ones there is that people say, well, I'm not thirsty, so I'm fine. So I think a lot of people and this, I've heard this in media too, where people say, like, you don't need to drink as much as you think you do. Let your thirst dictate when you need to drink. And that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, problem is, by the time you feel thirsty, it's actually kind of a late response. You're probably already dehydrated by that point. Your thirst system, like that feeling of thirst, kind of is a little delayed, and so you should be kind of preemptively drinking water. Even if you don't feel thirsty, you should be hydrating yourself even before you feel those symptoms, because by that point you've already been dehydrated and you could already be experiencing some symptoms from it that you don't even recognize. Mm-hmm. Another one, all I need to do, I just need to drink water. Water's the only thing I need to hydrate with. It's a good start, right? I always say there's nothing really that can truly replace just plain water. But again, we mentioned before, there's a lot of other things that we lose in our sweat that are essential for muscle function, brain function, performance, like sodium, potassium, those kinds of things. So, those tend to be, we call those the electrolytes, right? There's a lot of different electrolytes that can help with that. So supplementing your water, not all the time, not all day, but, especially on days where it's extra hot, where days you're going to be more active, maybe like, a couple weeks ago when we all did Murph outside and it was sweaty, like making sure that you're supplementing your water with some of those electrolytes.
And then on the other end of that spectrum, there are the people that say, well, I don't like water at all. And those are the people that just drink nothing but coffee in the morning, or they're the Diet Coke addicts, you know who you are, or other beverages of choice. And you'll
energy
find,
drinks, lots of energy drinks throughout the day.
And those people seem to get by just fine by not drinking water ever. And it's like, okay, your body can pull the necessary fluids out of those things too, but what are the other additions in those drinks, fluids, whatever they are, that is also affecting your body, that's going to make you possibly urinate a little bit more than you should be. And, again, kind of throwing off that electrolyte balance a little bit more.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we can jump to this one. So another myth is that I can just drink Gatorade. Gatorade solves everything. I don't like water, so I'm just going to drink Gatorade all day. I mean, that, again, in the right situation, in the right scenario, when you are going above and beyond with your activity levels, Gatorade's not bad, right? We're not trying to demonize Gatorade,
especially here in Gainesville,
right? Yeah, but it is usually full of sugar, and that can have its own effects, right? And maybe long term, but also short term, like you're having more sugar instead of the actual electrolytes can again affect other systems in your body.
Yeah. Sugar's a big one. Keep an eye on that sugar count. If you are buying some stuff off the shelves, look at those labels, because they can be a little deceptive sometimes, because people can buy a fruit juice and think like, oh, it's fruit juice, it's orange juice, it's healthy, it's from a fruit. Right. But you turn around and look at that label, and one glass of that orange juice has 38 grams of sugar in it. And it's like, that's not just natural fruit sugar either. Like, that's stuff that they're throwing in the mix there too. So all that stuff just ends up being, extra carbohydrates in your system. Your body's got to work to process those, and your liver has to process all of that too. So you end up having further problems. So kind of watch those sugar counts, those calorie counts on those things too. And the more pure, the better.
Yeah. I think one other common myth that I hear a lot is that, well, I'll just hydrate all at once. I'm just going to chug all my water and just sit there by the sink and which sometimes is, although he can take a lot more water at one time than I can, but
I'm a camel.
Yeah, you just chug it all in the morning, and then I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the day. There's some truth to that. Front loading your day is a helpful way to get more of your fluid in. I try to do that as well, but to then forget about it for the rest of the day isn't great either, because your body can only absorb so much at one time, right? So if you just fill your belly with a bunch of water, your chances are you're going to pee a lot of that out, because your body can only absorb it so much at one time. So you can front load your day, but then kind of start spreading it out throughout the day. Maybe making a point to notice when, pick a time that's a couple hours before you need to start getting ready for bed, so that you're not getting up every couple hours to pee, but try it. That's why, front loading it and then kind of spacing it out throughout the day. So
just to clarify, that is my protocol. I'll wake up first thing in the morning and I keep a pint glass right by the sink. That's the first thing I'll do, is just pound a pint glass, 16 ounces right there. Boom. I'll refill it, and then I'll drink that next 16 ounces probably over the next 20 minutes, half an hour. And then I feel like I'm pretty well loaded for the morning, and then I'll keep sipping a little bit throughout the day. Obviously, if I'm going to do some workouts or something like that, I'm going to drink a little bit more. And then, I do taper off my drinking of water towards the end of the day, so that way I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night and go pee.
Same. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a great segue into the next section we want to talk about, like real world strategies, right? So that is one of the things that both of us try to do on a daily basis, right? So, and he does it a little bit differently than I do. I'm not great at sitting there chugging a whole pint of water at one time, but I'll have a full 8 ounces right when I get out of bed and when I brush my teeth. I take a big full glass of that, and then I take, I do lemon water. I do a warm lemon water every morning, just a little squeeze of lemon juice into some warm water before my coffee, right? That's kind of been my thing. I learned that from my girl, Natty Boss, just as a way to get a little bit of extra hydration in there, kind of start your digestion going before you put any food in your system, before you put any caffeine in your system. So I'll make sure I sip my lemon water before my coffee. We also do greens powder, so I'll try and do my greens powder real quick before I do my coffee too. So preloading your day with some water and even some electrolytes if you know you're going to have a busier active day is a great first tip. I always do this. I have my emotional support water bottle. And when I lost it a couple of months ago and thought it was gone forever, I had a meltdown. It was probably not healthy response,
true.
but
It was a bad day.
It was a bad day. It was a real bad day. I carry a water bottle with me all the time. I know for myself too, I actually learned this, that instead of taking a water bottle that I have to actually, this sounds silly, but like water bottle that I have to actually tip up, I'm not going to drink as much from it as opposed to one that has a little like adult sippy cup with a straw on it. I will drink so much more if I can just sit there in my car and sip on it while I'm driving or sip on it while I'm trying to do notes or, so I know that about myself. But carrying a water bottle and find out how big it is, right? Like how much it holds so that you can do the math on what we'll talk about in a minute here of how much you should be drinking throughout the day and kind of keep track of how much you've had. So that's another great tip is just keep a reusable water bottle with you all the time and just sip on it throughout the day.
Yeah, I agree with that too. I don't know. This is just a personal thing, but I don't like seeing all those light plastic crushable things and people are just going through those and throwing them away. It's like, get yourself a good solid bottle.
Yeah, it's not hard, and I mean, down here,
Stays cold.
We drink tap water down here in Florida. I know people from up north where I'm from complain about the taste of the water down here. I mean, we're not picky, right? Like, we'll talk about changing, affecting the taste and stuff like that later on, but just, just get yourself a nice insulated one so it keeps it cold. And some of those like insulated water bottles, if you put a good amount of ice in there and keep it in your car, even down here in Florida, they'll stay cold all day. Like they're made really well now. So, and then we talked about amount. So, if you want to break it down to like per hour, 8 to 12 ounces per hour, if you're being active, I usually like to just say generally like 0.7 to 1 ounce per pound of body weight. I think that's usually a generally good general guideline for amount.
Yeah, I think 1 ounce per pound minimum.
Yeah.
And then I think 1.5, you're doing pretty good. And if you're really like getting after it, go for the 2 ounces per body weight.
It's hard.
My general go-to.
That's hard. So say,
that's 200 ounces for me.
I was going to say, if somebody
over a gallon,
if you're 150 pounds, 150 ounces, I'll generally go for, I end up going more towards that 0.7, between the 0.7 and 1, just because it's hard. It can be really hard to take in that much. But, if I've got a 32 ounce water bottle and I'm filling that up 3 times, that's going to be 90 something ounces and, about 100 ounces. And if I can get at least that plus whatever coffee I've had, plus some other protein drink, plus my greens powder, plus my lemon water, all that kind of stuff all adds up.
Yeah,
so.
Exactly. And that's why I will kind of count the coffee a little bit in that equation too. So I don't necessarily need to be drinking 200 ounces of water, but if I had some coffee, that's also going to come out in the wash a little bit too.
Right. Because yes, coffee is a diuretic. It will make you pee, but it is also made of water, right? So like there is a balance that happens. So, people kind of talk about coffee as like, it's terrible, it's going to dehydrate you. And it's like, well, it's never black or white, right? It definitely can contribute.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talked about the electrolyte mixes. There's different ones out there, Element, and you can make your own. We use Element. We also use Jocko Hydrate. We kind of mix and match. Actually, you don't like the Element too much because they're pretty salty. I use half.
Salty.
I'll use half the amount in a full thing of water, and that waters it down a bit more. And but you can make your own. You can use like pink Himalayan sea salt with some coconut water. I've done that before, and actually that tastes really good. That actually works really well, especially here in Florida too. The coconut water helps a lot too. What are some red flags? Things to look out for when we're trying to stay hydrated.
I think the first thing is like like she said earlier, if you're starting to feel thirsty already, like your mouth's starting to go dry, all right, it's a pretty good sign you're probably dehydrated.
Yeah.
I always like to do the little skin pinch test. Like sometimes I'll be midday, I'll be working, I'll look at my fingers and they look all wrinkly and I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't drank water in about 4 hours.
Yeah, the wrinkly fingertips, or like in the medical system, they call it a Turgor test. So the back of your hand, if you kind of like pinch and kind of pick it up, the back of your hand, if it kind of stays there, as opposed to just goes right back and flat, you're probably pretty dehydrated. That's that's more extensive than even the fingers. So yeah, those are some really quick little things you can pay attention to if you're starting to, we mentioned about the afternoon fatigue, if you're starting to get muscle cramps, your foot's cramping up, I know with me, if I go, in the summertime, when I go to these camps, these jiu-jitsu camps, if I'm not really paying attention to how much I'm hydrating, like at Origin camp or even Role Models camp, my feet will cramp up in the middle of, it happens almost every summer, almost every year.
Yeah, try sliding a little hook in there.
Yes.
Your foot just locks up.
My foot will cramp up. So I know if that happens, I need to start chugging some water. Headaches, right? If you're getting headaches, that's a good sign. Like I feel like we've probably all been there where maybe we've had a couple too many drinks one night and you end up with a headache. The headache is because you're dehydrated. It's not necessarily the alcohol directly that gives you a headache. It's because you've been drinking alcohol all night long and peeing out all your fluids. So
I'll get lightheaded during the exertion. Like if I'm in the middle of the workout or rolling or something like that, and all of a sudden everything just starts getting a little bit woozy. I'm like, oh, yeah, too late.
Yep, exactly.
That's usually where I'm rewinding in my head. When's the last time I drank water? I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot.
Yeah.
So here we are preaching it, and it's hard to keep up with sometimes.
It can be, yeah. One thing that, and I don't know that I've ever actually done this, I'd be kind of curious, especially like during a camp or something like that, but if you are super active and you're training a lot, maybe you're training for a competition or you're just crushing it at the CrossFit gym, but you want to make sure that you're staying hydrated, one way that you can kind of make sure that you're supplementing enough, right? Because all these numbers we've been giving you of like 1 ounce per pound of body weight, that's not just that's an average day, right? That's not even if you did a 45-minute workout like that. If you did a 45-minute workout, you should probably be drinking more than that, above and beyond, right? That was kind of like baseline. So what you can do is weigh yourself before you go for your activity or your workout. Before you go to jiu-jitsu class, before you whatever, weigh yourself, go to class, maybe as a tester, don't drink a whole lot of water first, and then weigh yourself when you come back and see, or you can weigh yourself before, go to class, drink the water that you have, wanted to drink, and then weigh yourself and make sure, if you've lost a ton of weight in that short period of time, that tells you haven't supplemented with enough water, right? Because in that short of time, you're not losing fat in that amount of time, in an hour or 2 or 3. That's all water weight. If you've dropped a couple of pounds in just a few hours, that's all water weight, and that means that you have not supplemented enough. I'm
just having flashbacks back to wrestling.
Yeah.
Back in the day, we would do that. We'd weigh in because we're trying to make weight for a competition. And I would lose 5 pounds during a single wrestling practice.
Yeah.
5 pounds.
That's
but it's because I was
water.
Purposely not drinking water because I was stupid. So weigh in afterwards and I was like, hoo-hoo, I lost 5 pounds. But then it's like, all right, you're going to have to either put that liquid back in you or your performance is going to be in the tank, which is usually what would happen.
Right.
So learn your lessons from being a dumb teenager.
And then, for those of you who say, I just don't like water, because we hear it all the time, I just don't like it. It doesn't taste like anything, or it tastes gross, or I just don't like it. Part of me wants to just say, suck it up, because we all need water, right? We all need water, and it's just a part of life. Even plants need water, right? It's just a thing. But you can flavor it up. Put some citrus, some lemon or orange juice, little, squeeze of lemon juice or lime juice in there. You can throw some cucumbers or some fresh mint in there. He uses the little squeezy Mio, which again, you kind of have to pay attention to that because that's got some sugars and stuff like that in there too. It's not the most natural thing, but
teeny little squirt.
But yeah, a little squirt just to kind of add a little bit of extra flavor. Sometimes I've told people just like a little splash of fruit juice to again, just give it some flavor and make it so it's not just plain water. All right, that was kind of a lot. That was a long one today, but that's okay because I think this is all important stuff.
Just hydration? What's there to talk about with hydration?
Yeah, 20 minutes worth of stuff, right? So yeah, if you guys have any questions about this, let us know in the comments, and let us know what's your go-to hydration hack. Let us know in the comments. We'd love to talk about it, and we'd love to always hear some new ideas because these are all things that we do, but there's always some other people who do some stuff that we've never heard of before, and we want to hear about it. So let us know in the comments what your hydration hack is. Let's all have a great start to the summer, and
keep getting after it.
Keep getting after it. We'll talk to you guys next week. Actually, next week, we'll be up camping next week.
That's
Maybe
right.
We'll try and do. We always say that when we travel, we'll try and do one, and then we don't. But we'll see what happens. So if we make it on here next week, it'll be from the woods, which is going to be awesome. We'll see how our
Wi-Fi is.
We'll see how the cell service is. Otherwise, we'll see you guys in a couple weeks. Have a lovely Friday. Have a lovely weekend. Happy 4th Friday.
I'm already hydrated.
I know. Happy 4th Friday.